During a routine patrol, the Coast Guard spots an odd blue boat in the middle of the ocean. It looks abandoned, and when they go inside to check, they find something that makes them scream in shock. As the sun began to sink below the horizon, the Coast Guard spotted a peculiar blue boat drifting aimlessly in the vast emptiness of the Pacific Ocean. The boat was painted in an unusual shade of blue, seemingly designed to blend seamlessly with the water. Its design immediately raised suspicion. Low-profile vessels, LPVs, are often used by drug traffickers for their stealthy construction. Built to ride just above the waterline, these boats minimize their radar signature, making them nearly undetectable to both patrol aircraft and surface ships. This boat had no identifying marks, no flag, and no visible signs of life on board, details that immediately raised alarms for the seasoned crew of the maritime patrol aircraft. What began as suspicion quickly escalated into a coordinated effort to identify the vessel. Acting swiftly, the Navy crew relayed its coordinates and details to the U.S. Pinckney, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer patrolling the area. The U.S. Pinckney was already on high alert, participating in U.S. Southern Command's enhanced counter-narcotics operations. Armed with the patrol aircraft's intel, the crew quickly realized they had likely uncovered something significant. The situation called for swift action, and the Pinckney, equipped with an embarked team, was ready to respond. As Coast Guard Law Enforcement Detachment team moved into position, the Coast Guard team members were experts in maritime law enforcement. They began preparing for the interception, reviewing protocols and readying their equipment. Meanwhile, the Pinckney's helicopters, part of the Wolf Pack of Helicopter Maritime Strike Squadron 75, were fueled and armed, ready to provide aerial support if the situation escalated. As the U.S. Pinckney closed in, the odd blue boat's low silhouette and unmarked hull confirmed the crew's suspicions. This was no ordinary fishing vessel. Its unnatural stillness and position along known drug trafficking routes pointed to illicit activity. Coordination between the Navy and Coast Guard was seamless. Communication buzzed as the teams synchronized their efforts, ensuring each step was precise. The plan was simple. The Pinckney would approach cautiously, while the lead team boarded for a thorough search. Under watchful eyes, the blue boat was moments away from revealing its secrets. The crew prepared for a critical interception, unsure of what they would uncover, but ready for a possible major drug bust. The Pinckney was well equipped for the task at hand, with advanced radar systems, a full complement of weapons, and a skilled crew. The ship had everything needed to handle a potentially volatile situation. However, the success of the operation would depend not just on the ship's capabilities, but on the seamless collaboration between the Navy and the Coast Guard. As the U.S. Pinckney approached its target, CMDR Andrew Roy coordinated the operation from the bridge, prioritizing crew safety and mission success. The odd blue boat, its low profile skimming above the water, was now in sight. To ensure air superiority, helicopters from Helicopter Maritime Strike Squadron 75 were launched, providing aerial surveillance and scanning the waters for threats or escape routes. Meanwhile, the Coast Guard Law Enforcement Detachment team, seasoned in high-risk maritime operations, finalized boarding procedures, checked their gear, and mentally prepared for the unknown ahead. As the Pinckney moved into position, the odd blue boat remained eerily silent. There was no visible activity on the deck, no sign of life, only the gentle bobbing of the vessel as it floated on the ocean's surface. The leaded team quickly deployed from the Pinckney. They made their way toward the boat in rigid hull inflatable boats. Once they reached the vessel, the leaded team secured their R-8 HIVs to the side of the boat and prepared to board. The boat appeared deserted. This raised new concerns. Was the vessel booby-trapped, or were there hidden compartments that could house contraband or, worse, explosives? The Coast Guard team encountered their first major challenge, accessing the cargo hold. Brendan, a seasoned Coast Guard officer, was the first to board the boat, with his partner John close behind. The vessel showed no signs of recent activity. Its sleek blue exterior contrasted sharply with the outdated interior, where rusted metal panels lined the walls and dusty, Faded controls jutted from the console. It felt like a relic from another era, abandoned and forgotten. In the boat's center, they found a sealed hatch made of heavy metal with a large rusted wheel. It looked untouched for years, guarding something significant, or possibly dangerous. John hesitated. "Should we open it?" he asked. Brendan nodded, though the apprehension was clear in his eyes. He placed both hands on the wheel and gave it a hard turn. The metal groaned in protest. With one final push, the hatch creaked open and revealed a dark passageway leading down into the depths of the vessel. A cold draft wafted up from the darkness below, carrying with it a musty, damp smell that made both men wrinkle their noses. The air was thick and stale, as if untouched for years. Brendan shone his flashlight down a steep ladder leading into the unknown. "Looks like we're going down," he said. John descended first, each step taking them deeper into the boat's cold, damp interior. Brendan followed, the passageway growing narrower and more oppressive with every rung. At last, they reached the bottom, stepping into a small, dimly lit chamber reeking of mildew and decay. Rusted metal panels lined the walls, and in the center stood an old-fashioned control panel covered in switches, dials, and gauges, untouched for decades. Brendan examined it cautiously. "This equipment is ancient," he muttered. "It doesn't make sense." John didn't reply. His attention was fixed on a small, unusual door at the far end of the chamber. It stood out, unlike anything else on the boat. Newer, with a shiny, unmarked surface that contrasted sharply with the corroded metal around it. There was no handle, only a simple keypad beside it. On it, a faint red light blinked. "What do you think is behind that?" he asked. The two men stood staring at the door, knowing that whatever lay beyond it was the key to understanding the mystery of the odd blue boat. Brendan reached out and pressed a few random buttons on the keypad. The door remained stubbornly closed. There was something behind that door. Something they needed to see, no matter how much their instincts told them to turn back. "We have to get this open," Brendan said. He scanned the room in search of anything that might help. John found a small toolbox under one of the consoles and pulled out a crowbar, handing it to Brendan. "Let's try this," he said. Brendan wedged it into the gap between the door and frame, pushing with all his strength. The metal groaned before finally giving way with a loud clang. Inside, they froze for a moment. The hold was packed with tightly wrapped bales, undeniable evidence of illegal drugs. The realization hit them. This was a massive haul worth millions on the streets, and the exact reason they were out there. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a triumphant cheer broke through as the weight of the discovery sank in. It was a scream that carried the weight of months, even years of relentless pursuit in the fight against drug trafficking. In that instant, all the tension, the uncertainty, and the fear melted away. They had done it. They had intercepted a major drug shipment, and the enormity of their success was just beginning to sink in. The officers swiftly secured the evidence, united by a shared mission and now a shared triumph. As they counted and cataloged the bales, the magnitude of their accomplishment became clear. This wasn't just another drug bust, it was a significant blow to the drug trade. The 1,400 kilograms of cocaine they seized, worth over $28 million on the black market, would never reach its destination. Each 20-kilogram bale represented a substantial part of the illegal operation. Carefully, the team lifted them from the cargo hold, bringing them onto the deck to be cataloged and secured, ensuring the contraband was accounted for and safely handled. The Coast Guard team followed strict protocols to ensure that the evidence was preserved intact for future prosecution. Every step of the process was documented, from the initial discovery to the final securing of the bales on a U.S. Pinckney. As the bales were laid out on the deck, the sheer scale of the operation became even more apparent. The sight of such a large haul of illegal cargo was both sobering and gratifying. The officers understood this seizure would make headlines, but more importantly, it sent a powerful message to those attempting to smuggle drugs into the United States. The Coast Guard and Navy were vigilant and unwavering in their mission to intercept illegal shipments. The triumphant moment when officers aboard the U.S. Pinckney cheered with joy after discovering 70 bales of cocaine in the hold of the peculiar blue boat was more than just a celebration of a successful operation. It symbolized the unwavering dedication of the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and their partners in the ongoing fight against drug trafficking. The interception of a peculiar blue boat highlighted the power of coordinated efforts between the military and law enforcement agencies. As long as individuals seek to profit from the drug trade, the men and women of the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and their partners remain steadfast, ready to confront and overcome these challenges. Each success marks a victory, making the seas just a little safer for all. I'm really keen to know your thoughts on this story, so please don't hesitate to share your insights in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and found it engaging, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more similar content. Feel free to share this video. Take good care of yourselves, and I'm excited to connect with you in our future videos.